Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. So many people will probably tell me, it's over! Civil War has surpassed Batman v Superman at the box office. The movie's probably out of the theater in most markets. It was not a booming success, but it did make tons and tons of money. I don't think our DC movie universe is in too much trouble, although the Flash director did leave. There was rumors that James Wan was leaving Aquaman. That's not happening. He's since tweeted out a picture about rumor mongering and himself in front of an Aquaman picture. The Wonder Woman movie is finished. It's coming out soon. We will get the Flash movie. It's just going to be a different director. There are creative differences on many movies a lot, and sometimes directors do leave the film. That doesn't mean that our movie universe is crumbling. There's some strange petition online to get rid of Zack Snyder. Now, there are petitions on everything throughout the history of time. Fans to sign, people to sign, politicians to sign, political pundits to sign, regular citizens to sign. Save this, save that, stop this from happening, take Zack Snyder off the movie projects. It could happen, and I will say that it is a very different type of a feel from what you might expect from comic book movies. And the reason for that, what most people expect from comic book movies, is because of Marvel. Back in whenever it was, 2006, when they started the Iron Man situation, which led to this Phase 3, I guess, we're about to start in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's all been light, it's all been happy, it's all been goofy, it's all been jokey, and I love it. I loved Civil War. It was very, very good. Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters. I love Captain America. He's very Superman-ish. He just doesn't have a lot of powers. And a lot of times, for a lot of fans, that can make for a more interesting character. But, nonetheless, people can yell at me or whatever, that the film is over, it's time to move on to a different subject, but I have been breaking it down and analyzing it to a more detailed degree, and that continues this week as I talk about Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg was not anybody's choice to play Lex Luthor, not anyone's choice, except for Zack Snyder and whoever else goes into the casting process. When Eisenberg was cast, a collective cry not seen since Ben Affleck was cast as Batman went out over the internets and the interwebs and went out over fandoms everywhere. No! And then they fell to their knees and got put into a black suit and served the Emperor. Now, the reason for that is because Jesse Eisenberg is he's kind of nerdy, he's kind of like that, and he's nervous, he's fidgety, he's quirky, which is good for a lot of different types of characters, but not great for what most people think about when they think about Lex Luthor. And for me, I did a version of Lex Luthor in a Great Scott episode. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It's a Lex Luthor press conference after the events of Man of Steel. And it was my thinking of how the storyline would go when introducing Lex Luthor into the movie universe. Now, I'm doing these videos at home. I don't have a production studio. I don't have great sound. But I think I did a pretty good job. And not to say that that would be exactly what I would do, but if I were cast, what I was looking for was a more animated series type of Lex, and you can kind of see it in my version when I do it. A bigger Lex, not that I'm huge, but a more impressive Lex, a more intimidating Lex, a more confident Lex, and that's a lot of what people were looking for in Superman. I've heard that same thing about Lex Luthor. Every version of every character in this movie can be torn apart, with the exception of maybe Wonder Woman, because we haven't seen much of Wonder Woman. She was only in it for a very short time, but the idea that Lex has never been a Joker character. Now, nobody wanted Jesse Eisenberg, but when I saw the movie, I was very impressed with his performance. I liked to not like Lex Luthor, which is what you want. He was funny. He was part of the humor of the film, not in a Marvel humor kind of way, which is endless quippy insults and things back and forth the whole time. This is a movie with a much heavier amount of drama and gravitas, but you do have some moments of humor, and a lot of it comes from Jesse Eisenberg's quick-witted responses to things and the way he introduces people. Clark Kent, Lex Luthor, meeting of the minds, I love bringing people together, which is not what you would want, generally, from Lex Luthor, and I still stand by that. It's not my favorite. However, when people say Lex Luthor is not a Joker character, he's not a Riddler character, I agree. When you get to near the end of the movie, when he starts acting like that, I don't think he was like that until the end of the movie, and there are some rumors, there are some ideas My thinking is that even though they didn't put the Omega symbol on his forehead, he does talk about the bells have been rung, it's coming now, he knows we're here, things are going to happen. At one point in the comic books, Lex Luthor was an announcer of the arrival of Darkseid. His mind had been taken over, and I think that might be something like what's happening here. It is extra complicated, and it is something regular moviegoers aren't necessarily going to have an idea about, but hopefully they'll clear that up later. My thinking is that Lex was pitched perfect in terms of being a master manipulator, knowing exactly what he wanted and making the other people get it for him. In other words, from the beginning, he wanted to slander Superman, and he had other people doing things to make him do it. He got the guy who had lost his legs in the Wayne Center attack. He knew that Bruce Wayne was upset about it. He knew that Bruce was sending him checks. He was sending them back. He set that whole thing up to make Bruce feel bad. Then he's setting Superman up the whole time to make him look bad, and it's working, and it's hurting Superman's feelings on himself. He doesn't know what he should do. And isn't it heroic to say, if a lot of these people continue to die and continue to do bad things in my name, wouldn't it maybe be better if I wasn't around? I've heard Superman fans say, Superman doesn't give up. Superman doesn't have doubts about himself. This is why, in a lot of cases, people who don't understand the character don't understand that there have been as many versions and as many emotional feelings to Superman as there have been colors in the rainbow and more, think that he's infallible, think that he's boring because he just stays the same. You need a character arc in movies for a character to be entertaining. And Superman's character arc is he's figuring out how he should be. He's figuring out how to be a god among men, even though he doesn't think of himself that way. But the allegories in the movie give you that sense. And Lex Luthor is a man among men, but he believes himself a god, and believes he doesn't really say that. His whole thing is about God versus man. But he wants to get rid of Superman. Is it clear? Is it entirely clear what his motivations are? I think it's clear that he believes there's a danger present in having somebody above us. He, in his own mind, doesn't think anybody is above him. That's been a Lex Luthor thing forever. One of Luthor's very earliest origins is in the Superboy comic book, where because he loses his hair in an experiment trying to stop Superboy from getting sick from kryptonite radiation, he then blames Superboy for not saving him. That's why he becomes Superboy's ultimate nemesis, and later on to be Superman's ultimate nemesis, supervillain, and eventually starts wearing suits like this and trying to kill superheroes because he lost his hair when he... And if that's not a Joker-esque origin, even though we generally don't see the Joker's origin, the idea being that this was a brilliant scientist who went crazy because he was burned by Superboy, and now I will destroy everyone. And that was the very first, real... Lex was around before that, called Luthor in the comics, and he was either a scientific, mad scientist type of a guy, or he was a cackling supervillain. He has been all these incarnations, and I don't think he was that in Batman v Superman. What I think he was the first time we've ever seen the master manipulator get everything he wanted done. He does fail at the end, and I feel like he was put into jail a little too quickly, because I guess he'll get out, although I don't expect a name like Jesse Eisenberg to come back. I also don't know what else they would have for Lex to do. His story might be done. We're moving on to Darkseid. There's a rumor that Steppenwolf, who was one of Darkseid's minions, is going to be the villain of Part 1. I don't think he's big enough to be the villain of Justice League Part 1. He could be there. He could come. No one knows who Steppenwolf is. Nobody. I guess in the Marvel movies, a lot of the villains, they don't know who they are either. You just make them interesting, and you make it a good story, I suppose, and it works. But I thought Jesse Eisenberg did a real good job. I thought the writers finally made him head of industry. He's not exactly a big, overconfident Lex Luthor that we might have wanted, but in a lot of ways, he's better than any we've gotten, because, again, he does manipulate both the heroes against each other, and he manipulates a lot of situations. He gets what he wants. He destroys the Congresswoman. He destroys things that get in his way, which is something Lex had always done. I will say I'm disappointed that he left Mercy in there. I wanted to see more of her. I was kind of hoping that she had, some martial arts, and we'd see her, be a security person. Don't you like my moves? But Eisenberg surprised me, because I was very against the cat. Not against, I'm gonna picket like people were doing with Affleck. But it was a strange casting, and it's not the way I would have wanted Lex Luthor to go, and I'm not sure we're going to see him again. I don't know that Eisenberg would want to come back, and as I said, I'm not sure what the next move would be with the character. You know, he's in the Justice League in the comics right now. It's possible that he'll know that he's part of the reason things have gone down this bad path, even if he was mind-controlled, if they go that way. And he could end up in a suit working with the heroes to try and stop the situation, which turns his character around really quickly. But of course, if they do it correctly, he'll still have his own reasons, and he'll still be the evil guy who's Superman's nemesis that we all expect him to be. Although in this movie, he was Batman and Superman's nemesis, because he got both of them in a situation neither of them would normally have wanted to be, although Batman was also the villain of the piece and kind of wanted to be a murderer from the beginning. Thanks everybody for watching, and remember, next week, Lois Lane. I guess whoever else goes into the casting process.
Boom.
It's kind of, but one of Lex Luthor's bringing people together.